Hello everyone, this is Neha Tulsyan from Crescent Creation. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm creating this beautiful holiday theme slimline card using products from Sunny Studios. You can now find Sunny Studios products at Crescent Creation shop. All of the products that I have used today are available in the store and the links are in the description box below. I started with stamping all my images onto white cardstock from Deck the Holtz stamp set from Sunny Studios. I stamped all the images using Copic friendly black ink, and here I'm using my Copic markers to color these images. These ornament images from the stamp sets are so stinking cute and I enjoyed coloring them so much. The Copic markers used are listed on the screen for you, and now I'm going to go ahead and put some music for you to enjoy the coloring. Here I'm almost done coloring. I'm gonna go ahead and die cut all these images off camera and then work on the background. For my background here I have a white cardstock that measures 3¼ inches by 8½ inches, and I'm inking it up using Faded Jeans, Blueprint Sketch, Salty Ocean and Tumbled Glass Distress inks here. I started adding Blueprint Sketch to the very top of the panel and then brought in Faded Jeans to darken up that area. Next, I'm laying down Salty Ocean ink here and trying to get a good blend between Salty Ocean and Blueprint Sketch. Here, going back and forth between the colors to get a good blend. Once that's done, I'll go ahead and bring in Tumbled Glass Distress ink to add color to the bottom part of my panel. My blending brush was a little small and it was taking me quite some time to add color, so here I switched to my full coverage blending brushes and that was much quicker. And here I'm just going back and forth between the colors to get a good blend. I still did not get a very dark color at the very top, so here I brought in Black Soot Distress ink and added color using my blending brush, and that seemed to get me the color I wanted. Once done, I'll go ahead and spray this background with some water and blot it dry using my paper towel. Now I'll also go ahead and add some white splatter to the background using my Opaque white ink, and then I'll keep this background aside to dry. To add more glitter to this background, I'm applying this glass bead glitter gel from Faber-Castell all over this background. I'm using my palette knife to help me spread the gel all over the background. I tried to apply as even coat as I can all over it. Then I switched to the stencil pal from Gina K to help me spread the gel all over the background more easily. And once done, I left it aside to dry. I actually left it to dry overnight and came back to it next morning. This is how it looks. I love the results. It's so beautiful and glittering. Next, I'm working on my sentiment. I'm using the Season's Greeting word stamp and the coordinating die. I've die cut the greeting sentiments 4 times out of white cardstock, and now I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss the sentiment on one of the die cuts using silver embossing powder. To get the perfect stamped sentiment, I'm using the die cut negative as my guide and placing the stamp on my MISTI tool. Used a little bit of temporary adhesive to place the die cut sentiment in place. Adding some anti-static powder tool to the die cut sentiment. Now I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment in clear ink. Once done, I'll go ahead and pour some silver embossing powder on top of my stamped sentiment and heat set it using my heat tool. Once done, I'll go ahead and glue all my die cuts together, placing the embossed die cut on the very top. Next, I'm white heat embossing the second part of the sentiment on black cardstock. So here I've prepped my surface using anti-static powder tool, and now I'm stamping the sentiment seasons using clear ink, and here I'm pouring some white embossing powder on top of it, and then I'll heat set it using my heat tool. Using my fan brush here to brush off any excess powder, and now I'm gonna heat set my sentiment. Here I have my Guillotine trimmer out, and now I'm trimming off my background just a little bit from all the 4 sides. This just helps to get a smooth background. And while my trimmer is out, I'll also go ahead and trim out the season's sentiment. All my pieces are ready. It's time to assemble my card. To add a more realistic look to all my ornaments, I'm using a ball tool and going over all my ornaments from the back, giving them a cup-like shape. Once that's done, I'll go ahead and make holes on all these ornaments so that I can string thread through them. I had this very thin hole punch. You can even use a pointy tool to make the holes. And now I'm going to go ahead and thread some silver threads through these ornaments. Once all my ornaments are ready, I'll go ahead and start gluing these pieces. I'll start with my sentiment. I'm using some liquid glue to glue down my greeting sentiment. Liquid glue gives me a little bit of wiggle room. At the same time, it helps stick the sentiment die cut to my textured background. I'm going ahead and gluing my ornaments in place using some foam squares. I'm doubling up my foam squares here to give my ornaments a good bulk. Once all my ornaments are glued, it's time to put the thread in place. I wanted my threads to be tied to the greeting sentiment, but it wasn't happening for me, so I removed the greeting sentiment completely, straightened up all the threads, and then placed the greeting sentiment on top of the threads. Once the sentiment die cut was glued in place, I trimmed off the excess thread that was hanging above the sentiment using my scissors. This is how it looks once all done. Next, I glued the season's sentiment using some foam tape. Now gluing this whole piece to a white slimline card base. So this was my card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Here are a few more videos that you might like to watch. Thank you for visiting. Have a nice day.